So it's called Hope for the Flowers, and this is chapter 1. Once upon a time, a tiny striped caterpillar burst from the egg, which had been home for so long. "Hello, world," he said. "It sure is bright out here in the sun." Okay. Oh, hold on. Gotta take that off my screen. There we go. So there, set on the leaf.
Beautiful.
I'm hungry, he thought, and straight away began to eat the leaf he was born on. And he ate another leaf, and another, and another, and got bigger and bigger and bigger. So there he is, munching away. Until one day he stopped eating and thought, there must be more to life than just eating and getting bigger. It's getting dull. So Stripe crawled down from the friendly tree which had shaded him and fed him. He was seeking more. So now he's out in the field with the sun on him. There were all sorts of new things to find: grass and dirt and holes and tiny bugs. Each fascinated him, but nothing satisfied him. Not really. When he came across some other crawlers like himself, he was especially excited, but they were so busy eating, they had no time to talk, just as Stripe had been. They don't know any more about life than I do, he sighed. Then one day, Stripe saw some crawlers really crawling. So there they are. He looked around for their goal and saw a great column rising high into the sky. When he joined them, he discovered the column was a pile of squirming, pushing caterpillars. A caterpillar pillar. Quite the height, right? It appeared that the caterpillars were trying to reach the top, but the top was so lost in the clouds that Stripe had no idea what was there. He felt new excitement, like sap rising in the spring. Maybe I'll find what I'm looking for. So there, you see the other caterpillar? Full of agitation, Stripe asked a fellow crawler, "Do you know what's happening?" "I just arrived myself," said the other. "Nobody has time to explain. They're so busy trying to get wherever they're going." "But what's at the top?" continued Stripe. "No one knows that either, but it must be awfully good because everybody's rushing there. Goodbye. I have no more time." He plunged into the pile. Stripe's head was bursting with new drive. He could get his thoughts together. Every second, another caterpillar passed him and disappeared into the pillar. There's only one thing to do. He pushed himself in. So there he is, trying to get in. Chapter 2. The first moments on the pile were a shock. Stripe was pushed and kicked and stepped on from every direction. It was climb or be climbed. Oops. No more fellow caterpillars on Stripe's pile. They became only threats and obstacles, which he turned into steps and opportunities. This single-minded approach really helped, and Stripe felt he was getting much higher. But some days it seemed he could manage only to keep his place. It was especially then that an anxious shadow nagged inside. "What's at the top?" it whispered. "Where are we going?" On one exasperated day, Stripe couldn't stand it any longer and actually yelled back. I don't know where the, no, excuse me. I don't know, but there's no time to think about it. A little yellow caterpillar, he was crawling over, gasped. "What did you say?" "I was just talking to myself," Stripe mumbled. "It really isn't important. It was just wondering, where are we going?" "You know," Yellow said. "I was wondering that myself, but since there's no way to find out, I decided it wasn't important." She blushed. How silly this sounded. Quickly adding, "No one else seems to worry about where we're going, so must be good." But she blushed again. "How far are we from the top?" Stripe answered gravely, "Since we're not at the bottom and not at the top, we must be in the middle." "Oh," said Yellow. They both began climbing again. But Stripe had a new feeling. He felt bad. He had lost his single-mindedness. How can I step on someone I've just talked to? Stripe crawled off Yellow and whispered, "I'm sorry." And Yellow began to cry. "I could stand this life hoping in what was ahead until I met you talking to yourself that day. Since then, my heart just hasn't been in it, but I don't know what to do. I didn't know how badly I felt about this life until then. Now, when you look at me so kindly, I know for sure I don't like this life. I just want to do something like crawl with you and nibble grass." Stripe's heart leapt inside. Everything looked different. The pillar made no sense at all. "I would like that too," he whispered. But this meant giving up the climb, a hard decision. "Yellow, dear, maybe we're close to the top. Maybe if we help each other, we can get there quickly." "Maybe," she said. But they both knew this wasn't what they wanted most. "Let's go down," Yellow said. "Okay." And they stopped climbing. They clung to each other as masses of caterpillars crawled over them. The air was terrible, but they were happy with each other and made a big ball so nobody could step in their eyes and stomach. They did nothing at all for what seemed a long time. Suddenly, they didn't feel anything crawling over them. They unrolled and opened their eyes. They were at the side of the caterpillar pillar. "Hi, Stripe," said Yellow. "Hi, Yellow," said Stripe. And they crawled off into some fresh grass to eat and take a nap. Just before they fell asleep, Stripe hugged Yellow. Being together like this is sure different from being crushed in that crowd. "It sure is," she smiled and closed her eyes. There they are, having a little snuggle. Chapter 3. So Yellow and Stripe romped in the grass and ate and grew fat and loved each other. They were so glad not to be fighting everybody every moment. It was like heaven for a while. But as the time passed, even hugging each other seemed a little boring. Each knew every hair of the other. Stripe couldn't help wondering, there must be more to life. Yellow saw how restless he was and tried to make him extra happy and comfortable. Just think how much better this is than that awful mess we left, she said. But we don't know what's at the top, he answered. Maybe we were wrong to come down. Maybe now that we've rested, the two of us could make it to the top. Dear Stripe, please, she begged. We have a nice home and we love each other, and that's enough. It's so much more than all those lonely climbers have. She was so sure. Stripe let her convince him, but only for a while. Stripe's hankering for the climbing life worsened. The pillar haunted him. He crawled there regularly, looking up and wondering, but the top remained clouded. So still no farther ahead. Oops. One day at the pillar, 3 thuds startled Stripe. 3 big caterpillars had fallen from someplace and smashed. 2 seemed dead, but 1 still wiggled. Stripe whispered, "What happened? Can I help?" He made out just a few words. The top. They'll see. Butterflies alone. The caterpillar died. Stripe crawled home and told Yellow. They were both very sober and quiet. What did the mysterious message mean? Had the caterpillars fallen from the top? Finally, Stripe announced, "I've got to know. I must go and find out the secret of the top. And more gently, will you come and help me?" Yellow struggled inside. She loved Stripe and wanted to be with him. She wanted to help him succeed, but just couldn't believe that the top was worth all it asked to get there. She wanted to get up too. The crawling life wasn't enough for her either. She also had to admit that it looked like the pile was the only way to do it. Stripe seemed so sure that Yellow felt ashamed not to agree. She also felt stupid and embarrassed since she could never put her reasons into words that his kind of logic would accept. Yet somehow waiting and not being sure was better than action. She couldn't believe it. So she couldn't explain, she couldn't prove anything, but for all her love, she couldn't go with Stripe. She just knew climbing was a wrong way to get high. "No," she said, heartsick, and Stripe left her for his climb. Chapter 4. Yellow was desolate without Stripe. Oops. She crawled daily to the pile looking for him and returned home at night, sad, but half relieved that she never saw him. If she had, she feared she might plunge after him, knowing that she shouldn't. She felt like doing something, anything, rather than this uncertain waiting. "What in the world do I really want?" she sighed. "It seems different every few minutes, but I know there must be more." Finally, she became numb and wandered away from everything familiar. One day, a gray-haired caterpillar hanging upside down on a branch surprised her. He seemed caught in some hairy stuff. "You seem in trouble," she said. "Can I help?" "No, my dear. I have to do this to become a butterfly." There he is up on the... Her whole insides leapt. "Butterfly, that word," she thought. "Tell me, sir, what is a butterfly?" "It's what you are meant to become. It flies with beautiful wings and joins the earth to heaven. It drinks only nectar from the flowers and carries the seeds of love from one flower to another. It can't be true, gasped Yellow. How can I believe there's a butterfly inside you or me when all I see is a fuzzy worm? How does one become a butterfly? She asked pensively. You must want to fly so much that you are willing to give up being a caterpillar. You mean to die? Asked Yellow, remembering the three who fell out of the sky. Yes and no, he answered. What looks like you will die, but what's really you will still live. Life has changed, not taken away. Isn't that different from those who die without ever becoming butterflies? And if I decided to become a butterfly, said Yellow hesitantly, what do I do? Watch me. I'm making a cocoon. It looks like I'm hiding, I know, but a cocoon is no escape. It's an in-between house where the change takes place. It's a big step since you can never return to caterpillar life. During the change, it will seem to you or to anyone who might peek that nothing is happening, but the butterfly is already becoming. It just takes time. So there she is watching him as he's making his cocoon. And there's something else. Once you're a butterfly, you can really love, the kind of love that makes new life. It's better than all the hugging caterpillars can do. Oh, let me go and get Stripe, Yellow said. But she sadly knew he was too far into the pile to possibly reach. Don't be sad, said her new friend. If you change, you can fly and show him how beautiful butterflies are. Maybe he will want to become one too. Yellow was torn in anguish. What if Stripe comes back and I'm not there? What if he doesn't recognize my new self? Suppose he decides to stay a caterpillar. At least we can do something as caterpillars. We can crawl and eat. We can love in some way. How can two cocoons get together at all? How awful to get stuck in a cocoon. How could she risk the only life she knew when it seemed so unlikely she could ever be a glorious winged creature? What did she have to do? What did she have to go on? Seeing another caterpillar who believed enough to make his own cocoon. And that peculiar hope, which had kept her off the pillar and leapt within her when she heard about butterflies. So there they are. The gray-haired caterpillar continued to cover himself with silky threads. As he wove the last bit around his head, he called, "You'll be a beautiful butterfly. We're all waiting for you." And Yellow decided to risk for a butterfly. For courage, she hung right beside the other cocoon and began to spin her own. Imagine, I didn't even know I could do this. That's some encouragement that I'm on the right track. If I have inside me the stuff to make cocoons, maybe the stuff of butterflies is there too. Chapter 5. Stripe made much faster progress this time. He was bigger and stronger since he had taken time out. From the beginning, he determined to get to the top. He especially avoided meeting the eyes of other crawlers. He knew how fatal such contact could be. He tried not to think of Yellow. He disciplined himself neither to feel nor to be distracted. Stripe didn't seem just disciplined to others. He seemed ruthless. Even among climbers, he was special. He didn't think he was against anybody. He was just doing what he had to if he was to get to the top. Don't blame me if you don't succeed. It's a tough life. Just make up your mind, he would have said, had any caterpillar complained. Then one day, he was near his goal. Stripe had done well, but when light finally filtered down from the top, he was close to exhaustion. At this height, there was almost no movement. All held their positions with every skill a lifetime of climbing had taught them. Every small move counted terribly. There was no communication, only the outsides touched. They were like cocoons to one another. Then one day, Stripe heard a crawler above him saying, "None of us can get any higher without getting rid of them." Soon after, he felt tremendous pressure and shaking. Then came screams and falling bodies, then silence, lots more light, less weight from above. Stripe felt awful with this new knowledge. The mystery of the pillar was clearing. He now knew what had happened to the three caterpillars. He now knew what must always happen on the pillar. Frustration surged through Stripe. But as he was agreeing this was the only way up, he heard a tiny whisper from the top. "There's nothing here at all." It was answered by another. "Quiet, fool. They'll hear you down the pillar. Where they want to get. That's what's here." Stripe felt frozen. To be so high and not high at all? It only looked good from the bottom. The whisper came again. "Look over there, another pillar, and there too, everywhere." Stripe became angry as well as frustrated. "My pillar," he moaned, "only one of thousands? Millions of caterpillars climbing nowhere? Something is really wrong. But what else is there?" His life with Yellow seemed so far away. That wasn't it either, not quite. Yellow, he let her image fill his being. You knew something, didn't you? Was it courage to wait? Maybe she was right. I wish I were with her. I could go down, he thought. I'd look ridiculous, but maybe it's better than what's happening up here. But Stripe thought was interrupted by bursts of movement all over his level. Each seemed to be making a last effort to find entry to the top. But with every push, the top layer tightened. Finally, one caterpillar gasped, "Unless we try together, nobody will reach the top. Maybe if we give one big push." "They can't hold us down forever." When Stripe poked out his head, the creature seemed to recognize him. It extended its legs and tried to grab him. Now we all know who that is. Stripe caught himself just before being pulled out of the pile. The brilliant creature let go and looked sadly into his eyes. That look activated excitement. Stripe hadn't felt this since he first saw the pillar. Words from the past returned. Butterflies alone. Is this a butterfly? And what did it mean? The top? They'll see. It was all so strange and yet like it was supposed to be. And those eyes with the look of yellow. Could it be? Could it be? Such impossible thoughts, yet the excitement inside wouldn't stop. He grew happy. Somehow he could escape. He could be carried away. But as this possibility became real, something else grew inside. He felt he shouldn't escape like this. Looking into the creature's eyes, he could hardly bear the love he saw there. He felt unworthy. He wanted to change, to make up for all the times he had refused to look at the other. He tried to tell her what he felt. He stopped struggling. The others stared at him as though he were mad. Chapter 6. He turned around and began down the pillar. This time he didn't curl up. He stretched out full length and looked straight into the eyes of each caterpillar. He marveled at the variety and beauty, amazed that he had never noticed it before. He whispered to each, "I've been up. There's nothing there." Most paid no attention. They were too intent on climbing. One said, "It's sour grapes. He's bitter. I bet he never made it to the top." Let's see him coming down. Oops. But some were shocked, and even some stopped climbing to hear him better. One of these whispered in anguish, "Don't say it, even if it's true. What else can we do?" Stripe's answer shocked them all, including himself. "We can fly. We can become butterflies. There's nothing at the top, and it doesn't matter." As he heard his own message, he realized how he had misread the instinct to get high. To get to the top, he must fly, not climb. Stripe looked at each caterpillar and inebriated with joy that there could be a butterfly inside. So now the pile has all these little thought forms of butterflies. But the reaction was worse than before. He saw fear in eyes. They didn't stop to listen or speak. This happy, glorious news was too much to take, too good to be true. And if it wasn't true, the hope that lit up the pillar dimmed. All seemed confused and unreal. The way down was so immensely long. The vision of the butterfly faded. Doubts flooded Stripe. The pile took on horrible dimensions. He struggled unbearably blindly. It seemed wrong to give up believing, yet believing seemed impossible. A crawler sneered, "How could you swallow such a story? Our life is earth and climbing. Look at us worms. We couldn't be butterflies inside. Make the best of it and enjoy caterpillar living." "Perhaps he's right," sighed Stripe. "I haven't any proof. Did I only make it up because I needed it so much?" And in the pain, he continued down, searching for those eyes, which would let him whisper, "I saw a butterfly. There can be more to life." So down he goes. One day, finally, he was down. We're almost there. Tired and sad, Stripe crawled off to the old place where Yellow and he had romped. She was not there, and he was too exhausted to go further. He curled up and fell asleep. When he finally awoke, he found the yellow creature fanning him with wings of light. "Is this a dream?" he wondered. But the dream creature acted awfully real. She stroked him with her feelers and most of all looked at him so lovingly that he began to trust that what he had said about becoming a butterfly might be true. She walked a little distance away, then flew back. She repeated it as if he should follow. So he did. They came to a branch from which hung two torn sacks. The creature kept on inserting her head, then her tail into one of them. Then she would fly to him and touch him. Her feelers quivered and Stripe knew she was speaking. He couldn't make out the words. Then slowly he seemed to understand. Somehow he knew what to do. Stripe climbed again. It got darker and darker, and he was afraid. He felt he had to let go of everything. And Yellow waited. So there she is. waiting for him. Until one day, ta-da! They're both butterflies. The end.
Beautiful. Wow. That's
Anyway,
when you
I hope
class.
it-
Good end. Yes, it did.
it's a beautiful story, and the reason I chose it was because I think so many of us don't realize our potentials, and we get sidetracked with this is, you know, the way life should be, and we can all be butterflies, or we can, you know, stay on the ground, or we can, you know, stay in our cocoons. You know, there's lots of options here, but the butterfly is very metaphoric.
Yes, it's an allegory. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I
Baba
hope
uses because he uses the moss and the fire.
Mhm.
anyway, I remember it was a month of dissecting this in the course, and it was well. I thought it was life-changing personally.
Oh, really? You studied this book?
Yeah, yeah.
Course?
Interesting.
What course?
It was in a personal growth on why are we not becoming butterflies?
We are, but
It was an interesting topic, and I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. And because I worked, you know, facilitating women's groups, it seemed like a good idea. And it was a good idea. And I was really happy that the storytelling time came up because it introduced me to it. And I've read it now twice, and yeah, and it's just brought all of that up. Yeah, all of that up, because it can be used in also in grieving as well. Like it's a multifaceted storyline, and yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, the author seems to have some understanding of spiritual concepts. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's lovely. Oh,
there's stories in Mehera of butterflies, of people who came and saw butterflies in as a sign from Baba and near the Samadhi. And yeah, so I remember, I don't remember the details exactly, but one woman lost someone, and or her son or her husband or something. She was devastated. And how did Baba do that? And or something like that. And she came and she wanted a sign from Baba of his love. And she came after the Samadhi in a time that there was no butterflies to be there. It was season. And when she left the Samadhi, either one butterfly just kept following her all the way down the path to the pilgrim center. And when she told Balna too that story, he said, yeah, that's Baba. That's certainly Baba's show.
Yeah.
And that's the only story of butterflies that I heard around Baba. But I, you know, because I have the story of butterflies just before I came to Baba too. So so it was also very meaningful to me. So what you told
you
today.
have to tell us, Mikhail. You have to tell us your story.
If Baba allows, I will tell you, but it's a very, very precious story. Actually, when I was very young, I used to write. It used to be what people call to unload, you know, unloaded stuff, you know, like I would sit and I would start a sentence and things would be written out almost by themselves when I was about 14. And not big things, you know, just small things, and you know, and some of the things really later on became very Baba-like. One of them was this image of a fish out, which Baba uses a lot. And
sorry, I didn't hear that. Was what?
Fish out of water.
Oh,
Fish out.
Thank you. Thank you.
And one of them was of a butterfly. And the story of the butterfly was that this that the world was full of action and desire and stuff and excitement and and all these things, and but it was like drunkenness. It was like drunkenness. It's like people were getting drunk on the world, getting drunk on the world life. And the darkness comes down, and this butterfly, it emerges out of this darkness because it wants to live that kind of life. And it's up into the sky. And we have this last star of the morning, last star of the morning. We call it the morning star. That's what we call it in Hebrew, at least. And last star that leaves when the sun rises. So this butterfly comes up and it goes into the sun. It burns into the sun, and it's the colors of its wings becomes the color of the dawn, becomes the color of the dawn. So that is what I wrote, and so I had this very strong image of butterflies. And then one day I was in Amartiti, one of the first Amartitis that I was in Mehera. Actually, that was the time the trick was there also, Betty. Rickshaw was also there.
Oh, yeah.
And we kept I kept vigil between the 30th and the 31st. I didn't sleep between the 30th and the 31st, which is Baba's dropping the body. So I went to the toilet in up the hill behind Mansari's room at a certain time. And those toilets, they had a door which was not closed at the bottom and not closed at the top. It was a short door. So there was a space from the bottom and a space from the top. And they're facing east, they're facing east. So I went into the toilet and suddenly I saw that the sun was coming up. Okay, so somehow it reminded me of what I wrote. I didn't, but I wasn't with that too much. And then, there was the whole thing and the silence of 12 o'clock and, 15 minutes of silence and all that. And then I was tired because I kept vigil. So I went to sleep. And at that time, well, we were in the PC, and the PC went on Amartiti is vacated. So older people can have this comfort, and all the young people are relocated to other places. At that time, we were relocated to the nurses' quarters. So actually, that I think it was 1991, and I was with my kids at that time. I think my kids were there too. So I went to rest, and there was no one in the room, and we had only mattresses on the floor, and it was not a big room, and so we were maybe 5 people there, but there was no one at the room, and I just put myself down on the mattress and wanted to sleep for a while, and Baba bugged me, and he said, "Go out," and I was really going to sleep. I was going to sleep, and I was half asleep. I was already falling asleep. And he says, "No, go out. Don't go to sleep." So I said, "Okay." And I got up and I got out. But I didn't know where Baba wanted me to go. So I just started walking around the house. It's a nurse's quarters, is a small house. So I just walked it around, and then I didn't know where to go. So I just stood. And as I looked down near my foot, there was this huge butterfly. And, um, huge with open wings, and it was all burned, but it was burned, but it was completely there. I mean, the wings, everything, nothing was ashes, like it was totally burned, but nothing to ashes. It stayed a butterfly with the wings outspread, but all burned. And I knew that Baba, he just, he was with me when I was 14. And I wrote that thing, and I knew that he accepted that. He accepted this burning into the dawn, because the dawn was there, when I went to the toilet and I saw the dawn coming up, through the top of the. So it was so moving. So I'm share that. I don't usually share that. I shared it once already with people here. So I'm sharing it because you asked about, and I didn't see that Baba said no.
Thank you. Thank you, Mikkel. Thank you.
Yeah.
Was it alive, Mikal, or not?
No, it was completely burned. That is so
Wow.
amazing.
Wow.
Like the butterfly has certain drawings on the wings, right?
Mhm.
And the wings were open, and it was huge. It was bigger than my hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, it might have gone from this,
Oh.
from this finger to this finger in width, with the wings open on the ground, and all the delicate drawings on the wings were completely black, but
Wow.
it not disintegrating to ash. It just stayed a full. It was so magical. I
Oh.
didn't even touch it. I didn't even try to see, um, and that's all. I just left it there as was, and I knew that Baba was telling me that he was with me and that he accepted that, and he knew exactly that that's what I want.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh.
It's so magical, and so some people say that Baba is not, they say he died. He didn't die. Didn't die. Baba is alive. He's totally alive. He's totally with us. I mean, he told me, get up, and he told me, go. And I didn't know where to go. And I just went around, and then I just stood because I didn't know where to go. And there it was, right at my feet.
So what did the butterfly, what was the gift of the butterfly for you? It clearly gave you a huge gift.
My writing when I was 14 was that this butterfly is finished with this world. Finished. It doesn't find any more interest in what the world is doing, because drunk on the world, on the worldly life, like you were talking here with this going up this crazy, thing, because people are trying all sorts of things to become happy, trying this, trying that, not that I think it's wrong to try. I think it's right to try. So, and it's not like the pillar, because it's not cruel. It was not what I saw was cruel. I saw, love and togetherness and eating and and all that, but it was getting dark. It was getting dark. It was getting drunk. It was like being in a stupor, not alive. And this butterfly, it rose up from that into the morning star.
Right.
And it rose up into the sun that was rising, and so it got burned because it was rising into the sun, but its wings were becoming the colors of the of
The
the
dawn.
of the dawn. So this butterfly gave gave the dawn its colors
Yeah.
by melting into the sun and by going, by rising into that.
That's a beautiful story.
It is a beautiful story, and I can tell you, when I used to write these things, I used to start something, start a sentence, and it would just go by itself.
Yeah.
I don't have that anymore, but at that time I needed that because my childhood, my younghood, my adulthood, my how do you say, when you are teen, my teens needed that, so I had it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think, yeah, and yeah, and so, but Baba showed me with that, he showed me, I have been with you then. I've been with you totally. I know that story. I'm showing that story, and he's showing me that story in Amartiti,
Wow.
Showing me in detail. He's showing me that I didn't sleep all night, and it was dark, at night, and we kept up and we kept vigil, and then I saw the dawn through the toilet, and then I went to sleep, and he said, "Don't sleep, don't."
No, sweet.
I have a little more for you. And a burned butterfly. A burned butterfly. How rare. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Just
can't make that up. You can't.
No.
That's
Oh,
because when a butterfly burns, it becomes ash.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was a full butterfly.
I'm so
Full.
glad I read this now. I never would have heard that story.
Oh,
So,
that's
but very much with butterflies, very much.
Yes, yes. I have one that's in my window that was on a gift, and it's got sparklies on it. And when the sun hits it, it kind of moves a bit and I love it. I just,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
but you not by chance brought this butterfly story to us because you have this butterfly soul.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We let butterflies, what do they call them? Monarch butterflies. We built a labyrinth on the front lawn. And one of the ladies in the group, I don't know how she got them, but she did. And they're not frozen, but they're kept cold so that they could be transported from one to another. And because we've had a shortage of monarch butterflies for whatever reason, anyway, and so I think there's probably 40 at least of these butterflies, and we just took them and we just held them in our hand until they were warm enough, and they just took off.
Wow.
It was so beautiful. And periodically through the summer when monarchs come back, I go, "Are you one of those butterflies?" Are you a daughter or a son to somebody? That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Betty, you have a butterfly story, I'm sure.
well, I did find a monarch with a torn wing, and I kept it. I kept it like a pet for I'm gonna say 2 or 3 days. I that's my monarch story. It didn't live forever, but it lived for a while, and it would sit, it would sit on me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and, and I made sugar water. I didn't know what else, flour. But I kind of don't remember all the details, but I just remember that it was unusual. It didn't go away.
Yeah.
It just stayed. It stayed with me for yeah. Oh, wow, that's my little story.
I have
Right?
love butterflies, and butterflies are in my life.
Yeah.
So I have butterflies here. They belong. This one is Mehera's and Mani's butterfly.
Oh wow. Oh,
In
it's
my,
beautiful.
and
Ah.
my RT corner and this is Baba's. This is Baba's.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God, those are beautiful. And they hang.
No,
Ah,
there are flowers that I put for
oh,
Baba
yeah.
and in the corner.
They say that the butterflies and the fairies work together. I think it'd be quite possible.
And what? Fairies, yeah.
The butterflies and the fairies work together.
And you godmother.
Hmm?
You are a godmother,
Godmother.
a fairy godmother.
You know, it's funny because one of the ladies in one of my groups, she gave me this little, I don't call it, just a little clay godmother with wings on her. And she said, "You are my godmother." It's funny you should say that.
You're a godmother. Of relationships with
I can see that. I bet you're a godmother too.
Uh,
Wendy, I bet you are.
you are fully a god.
well, my best friend fell on the weekend and broke her hip. And she's had her surgery and yeah, they
So you're watching over.
yeah, I'm waiting for her to come home and we'll do whatever needs. She comes from a large family, so you know, it's not like you won't have somebody, but sometimes you just need a friend. You don't need family.
Good that you have that with your group. That is very precious.
I feel very blessed to have that. I really do. And Anna Marie, we've been friends for getting close to probably 47, 48 years now, because my son will be 50 this year. Yeah. And because I don't have brothers and sisters. I do not have any family other than my children and my grandchildren. I have no connection whatsoever with any other aspects of my mom and dad. Yeah.
You sure seem to have a big family, Wendy.
I do. And I'm grateful. For
You made a family.
That's right. And you know, I really do believe that, yeah, sometimes you're born with all this, but sometimes I think Baba just, you know, goes, nope, I want this one here and I want that one. How it goes. And I've been very blessed that way. Very blessed in there.
Betty too. Betty too. You are also very wrapped around with people, loving people and family, soul family.
Yeah.
Blessed for sure. Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah.
Gail, you got a hand up. Gail.
Oh, I just wanted to say my Al-Anon group is called Westminster Butterflies.
Oh,
And I just wanted to say, you know, it makes, and I'm leading the meeting tomorrow, so I'll figure out a way to weave this in.
oh, nice. Nice.
So,
What's the name of that book? It's called Hopes for the Butter.
Oh, flower.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Elio, how you doing? We don't see you. Are you driving?
yeah, I'm driving and I'm looking for a friend, a Baba friend. So I'm gonna hang up now.
Okay.
Love this though. This was great. Thanks.
Yeah, I love you. What an interesting meeting from Vikings to butterflies.
Well, you know, Vikings had to be strong. Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's, yeah. Is it, Rouse really seems to appreciate those strong qualities. That's good. I think I don't give them enough credit. Yeah.
He does look like a Viking. He said he's not, but he does look like a Viking.
Oh, he does, doesn't he? Doesn't he though?
Yeah, he looks like a Viking, and I think he is, although he's saying no.
He's a gentle Viking though. He's raising little
Yes.
teeny baby birds.
That doesn't mean you're not a Viking when you're gentle. Baba is gentle, but he's very strong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, yesterday was our up here in Canada. We have family.
Yeah, I want to hear about that. How was your family day?
Lovely. It was lovely. I didn't get to be with all of them. My daughter and her husband and children, they came over, and one of Gwen's friends brought a girl over with her. And I know Alex, she's quite the character. And I love it when she comes out. She makes me laugh all the time. And yeah, so we had some food and we, told stories and cards. And then Alex played hockey last night.
Ah.
Yeah. So we went,
Did you go? Did you go to the game?
yeah, we did. We went.
Exciting. Wow.
It was really fun and he did
Oh,
well and yeah. So it was a good day. It was a really good
I
day.
love that concept, Family Day. We don't have it. We don't have it here. We should.
Well, apparently, after I talked with you, I looked it up and not every province celebrates it. Some of them use it for something else. But
Oh,
Ontario, the one that I'm in, does. And the kids get the day off school. And as I said to Betty, oftentimes the next day they're asked to tell about what was their family day. What did they do with family? And,
That's, we have family day here, but I don't think we're doing much about it.
okay.
In school and in kindergartens, we talk about it, father and mother, and we sing and we, but I don't think families do exactly anything about it. Not that I kids in my kindergarten know anything.
Right.
to really, really take a break in a day with the families, with that intent is really wonderful. Wow.
And to put those dang phones down and iPads and all of those things, it's like, I say, when my grandkids are here, if they happen to bring them out, they always look like, ooh, that's the-" And I say, listen, when I'm gone, you're going to wish you had heard these stories. Oh, because nobody else has got them out there. So, and they go, oh, Graham, I'm sorry.
Good, good. And what did you eat? What did you prepare, all of you?
Well, my kids love these meatballs that I make. And they were, when they came, it was so funny. What are we having, Grandma? And these ones specifically love this macaroni dish that I make. So I combined the two. And then I made this chocolate cake thing with some ice cream. And yeah, it was good. And yeah, there's really not that much to I don't think, to the meatballs. But they just love them. They just, oh, meatballs, yay.
How many people have you had in your house when they came?
Oh, when they're all here, there's
Yeah.
14 of us.
14?
Yeah, 14 when all the kids, I think that's right, because all my kids have 4. Yeah, 14. Yeah.
That's a lot of meatballs. That's a lot of meatballs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
And I didn't
how
this
do you-
time.
what sauce do you make them in?
I don't make them with a sauce. They're just ground beef and lamb and parsley and ground cumin and garlic and
Ah,
pepper. I think that's it. There's not really a lot in it, and an egg or two, depending how many I'm making. And sometimes if I've got some crackers that nobody wants to eat, I put them in the freezer, and then when I'm doing something like this, I bring crunch.
But then do you boil them or you put them
Well,
in
I
fry
brown them first, and then I put them in the oven to finish it.
them?
cumin, garlic.
Yeah,
I can see that. And parsley.
and parsley, yeah. And I think that's it.
How do you brown them? You brown them in skillet on the fire?
Yeah, I use
You fry them a bit.
avocado, just a little bit of avocado oil on the bottom, not too much. And yeah, I think that's kind of it.
And you serve them with pasta, macaroni.
Well, for them, yes. And I make tzatziki.
Oh, tzatziki. What's
Uh,
that?
That's with the cucumber and sour cream. Kefir.
Oh, like sauce. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I'll be honest. I like that better personally, but you know what? when they come, I spoil them. It's like, I'm okay.
So the macaroni you make with the sauce or just
Yes.
macaroni?
Yeah, I make it with tomato sauce, depending if I've still got some left from the garden and the herbs from the garden and what else do I do? And then I grate some cheese over the top of it. And then we always have Caesar salad, and they always say, Grandma, did you make the salad dressing yourself? And I went, yes, I did. And they go, oh, Grandma, it's so good. Yeah.
Well, it's so great that you have a garden. How did you learn to grow things?
Oh, I grew up, my grandma, my dad's mom was a gardener. And so I was attached to her right hip, like wherever she went.
Oh,
Like I don't remember some of this, but she apparently would say, if you don't leave me for a bit,
oh yeah.
or she'd say, if you don't stop talking, I'm gonna cut off your head and sew on a button. Yeah. But you know what? There were very few mornings I didn't wake up in her bed.
Wow.
Every morning I would wake up in her bed pretty much.
All your grandparents lived with you, all of them, right? Dads and moms.
My dad's mom. No, sorry. My dad's dad, he died just as that transitioning was happening. So he didn't get to live with us, but his wife did. And that was the one I was so attached to. And my mom's mom and dad lived with us.
Oh, that's so precious. That's so
Wonderful.
precious.
It's
Wow.
wonderful, yeah.
So it was fun. It was always interesting. And even when they got sick, I stayed home from school to take care of them. That's like, yeah. I wasn't gonna let somebody kind of
How old
about that.
were you when you didn't go to school?
My first grandmother died when I was 7.
Hmm.
Oh, wait a minute. No, grade 1, 6. I would have been 6. Sorry.
Your
And
father's mother?
my mom's mother.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And she was a really good cook. And so was her husband. Like I felt like I could decide where I was going to have lunch. Because my mom's mom and dad lived downstairs in the apartment down there. And then my dad's mom, she was blind. And so we spent a lot of time in the dark. And I would jokingly, I'm sure I've said this, I spent a lot of my childhood in the dark. And I don't mean that psychologically, I just got used to it. And Martin, to this day, he'll say to me, my God, Wendy, how do you navigate so well in the dark? And I think it just, you know, how you grow up with something and it just becomes part of your life. I guess. I don't know. I know when I go down our hall, it takes 14 steps from bed to the corner. It's 7 steps down to the first landing. 2 steps, 7 more steps. Like I know that. I just, and I taught him that, believe it or not, the other day. I said, Martin, you know, like it's so simple. Just try it. And he went, whoa, okay. So he did. And he went, oh, okay. Now, whether he'll do it again, I don't know, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
Other grandmother passed away when you were how old?
I was pretty close to 16.
So big. Yeah.
16, I wasn't driving, but I was getting ready to. Because I thought, oh, this will be great. Because I would leave school. At the very end, she was in a nursing home because she broke her hip. And my mom had to go back to work because my dad got angina. So anyway, so I would go after school on the bus up to the nursing home. I do my homework there, have dinner with her. Well, I didn't eat, but made sure she ate. And then I would come home.
That's sweet. That's
I
special.
thought, when I'm 16, I'll be able to drive up, or maybe we'll have her home by then. Yeah. So anyway, it didn't.
Very-
Wow, what an unusual 16-year-old to have been so close to your grandma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think because she was just so much a part of my life. She was like another parent. And she'd, sometimes let me do things that my mom and dad wouldn't let me do, especially my mom. She'd say, don't tell your mother. Yeah. Tell your mother. Hey, girl.
Now, was she the gardener or was that the other grandma? It
She
was the gardener. Oh,
And
wow.
my dad was a gardener as well. People at our home used to stop and take pictures of the rose garden.
Oh,
Beautiful. I cannot grow roses to save my life. I've tried. I just, nope. I have wild roses on the property, but not the others. I've tried.
Because of the weather, you can't.
No, because other people do. I've done everything that I feel that I can do to make it happen. It's just not something that I'm supposed to be doing. Now, vegetables and stuff, like right now, I'm trying an experiment. I am growing potatoes in the house.
Oh, in the house?
In the house.
Why
And
in-
so far, they're doing okay. The greenery's coming up. I grew
what's the medium? Is it sawdust or dirt?
Dirt.
It-
Yep, with dirt.
oh, wow. Wow.
And it seems to be going okay. And I'm growing ginger, which
Huh.
was just one of those, can I not? Well, I won't know till I try. And yeah. And when I tell this story, the reason I am inspired to do these things, some of it is, yes, my grandparents, my dad, but I remember the Dalai Lama talking about his mother.
Oh,
And one of the stories he told was when they had to leave, they apparently brought some orange trees with them. And so when they settled, they of course planted them, and he would say to his mom, they're not likely going to grow here. And she would always say, well, we'll see. Excuse me, we'll see. Anyway, apparently they did, and they were pretty spectacular. So I don't know why that story stuck in my head, and it's like, you know what? I'll just try to grow ginger. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not the end of the world.
So if you put potatoes in the ground, then what happens? What happens?
Are you talking about ginger?
No, potatoes.
No, they're just in a big black bin. If I could move my computer, I'd show you, but I can't.
No,
So
but we grow, and then what do you expect?
I expect potatoes.
So if you put a potato inside, then other potatoes will grow?
Yes. So when you plant potatoes, you know how you get the eyes on the potatoes?
Yes.
So you just cut, where the eyes are, give it maybe half an inch to an inch below that, cut it, and then you plant those in the dirt about maybe 2 to 3 inches of dirt tops.
Mhm.
Put them in, like in a bucket that's, I'm going to say it's probably maybe 36 inches. Yeah, 36 inches. I've got 4 potatoes there. And some of the eyes were getting too long, so I just trimmed them back a bit.
Why
And
do you trim?
just because they're too long, you want to
Okay.
push the energy back into the.
Okay.
And anyway, I looked yesterday and I said, oh, Martin, we've got greenery that's coming. So I'll bury it again, and you just keep burying it until the bucket's about, it's probably about 2 feet at least deep. And then you just let it grow. And when the green dies, then it's time to harvest the potato.
Wow. You know why I'm asking? And I also want to know if Betty is doing any planting. Betty, you have any planting? You have any garden?
No, not now. Mm-mm.
Did you ever have
Yes, yeah,
grow?
yeah, summertime. Mostly flowers. Yeah, I don't have a lot. I've grown tomatoes and yeah, yeah, but yeah. Mhm.
No, I never succeeded in doing anything with plants, and I'm very good with children. So I always felt
Good.
frustrated until a few years back that I had something horrible right at the front of my entrance door, and I put a plant there, and it's thriving. It's really,
Oh,
and it's really like that. So I became brave
uh-huh.
Good for
because
you.
I really like sustainability. I really like sustainability and the
Yeah.
idea of growing food, because that's why I like that you
Ah,
grow chicken and food and all that. So I decided that I'm going to try to grow cherry tomatoes from a tomato
oh,
plant.
Hey, yeah,
yeah,
they're not
So
hard.
I
never
bought
easy.
I bought a place to put and ground, and I put the seeds of the cherry, and they grew and they grew. So I got the brave, and I really like how do you call that, peas? You know, peas in a pot.
Yep.
So there's a season here that you can buy them in the grocery, and they're so sweet, and I love eating them fresh.
Mhm.
I said I'm gonna try that too. So I
Good.
took these peas from the pod, and I put them in ground, and they're growing.
So you're growing things.
Yeah, yeah. So now I have in my window. I bought last week a bigger pot, and I have four tomatoes growing really big.
Ah,
You don't see any tomatoes there, but it's growing, and I see all these little green peas growing, and it makes me so happy.
Like, isn't it the truth? It is, yes, what is it? It's a tonic, it's therapy. I remember, oh, I had to move after we had a commune, it broke up. I was so sad. So my son and I moved to a little cabin. And what got me through was planting peas, it was,
Oh, what?
yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
have any peas growing from that?
yes,
Were you?
yes, we
Oh,
had,
nice.
yeah.
so I'm
Human,
waiting.
I
so,
I think that it's in our nature to, like, we're hardwired to be in community. That's
Yeah.
actual. But we're hardwired as well to be in our community of trees and growing and all of those things. We're all connected with that. And
Yeah.
you feel good. Like
Yeah.
you
And
just,
it's such a wonder, You put
yes.
peas in, you don't do anything. You just put them in the ground. You put some water and they grow. Wow,
I know,
It's
it's
It's so
great.
true. Yeah.
That's why, like, my herbs, I bring them in for the winter because they'll die, my herbs. So I always have fresh basil and rosemary and thyme in the house, and I have my bay leaf plant. And it's great.
Wonderful. Yeah.
It's great. And it's comforting.
But if you pick it for the food, then you pick it, you sort of take for the food, then
Yes.
what happens to the plant?
What does it do to the plant?
Yeah, because you're taking it, you're eating it up. So what's happening to the plant then?
It's still growing. It still grows. Like, I have 2 basil bushes that are they are bushes now. And the one, I will be able to in the spring cut it down and it will retake off. The other one that I've had for a few years, what I'll do probably 1st of March, I'll take probably 4 or 5 cuttings because people always want one of my plants. So I'm starting to think ahead now. So I'll cut them and then I'll dip them in the rooting soil, and then I'll make a whole bunch of new ones because
no.
that one, it gets quite woody. So I'm not sure that it would make it. So far, I have had 2 years out of it. And I always put them back into the earth. Like
Yeah.
come spring, we go back out there. I always say, hang in there just a few more months and go back outside again and play. But it's so nice because you can take it off. And a friend of mine who, anyway, it doesn't matter. Her specialty is cooking. And so she showed me how to chop up the bay leaves or the basil, sorry. So you take it off and put the leaves in the cup, like don't get a too deep a cup, and take your scissors and then chop, 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 chop inside the cup. It's so much easier and you don't waste as much. Yeah. So that's, so that's what I do there. And yeah. And it smells nice. People come into the house and go, oh my God, that's so good. And I'll go, really? And I forget, I'm so used to the smell that I don't even think about it anymore. It doesn't click. Yeah, one of my grandson's girlfriend came in and she said, your house smells so good. And I went, oh, thank you. And I'm trying to think, what would that be? And then
You're living in the smell. You're living in the fragrance.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, and then this weekend, I'm just going to throw this in. I won't say anymore. So a friend of mine, well, husband and wife. As a matter of fact, the husband and wife that wrote the book that I read last time.
Oh, yeah.
They had a hawk hit their window. And
What?
a hawk, just a small hawk. Bird. Sorry, hit their window, and they know that I do my stuff with things like that. And so anyway, they wanted a wing and a tail. So anyway, they said, can we bring it over? Can you show us how to do this? La, 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 la. So
So
anyway,
the bird was dead?
yes,
It was dead. And they wanted you to cut,
the wing
yeah.
off
Oh,
and the tail so that they could make a smudger. The tail they wanted to make what do you call it? That you put it in a picture box, and he's an artist. Like I'm sure it will be breathtaking by the time he's done. Anyway, so I've done this so many times. I know how to do it. And so they came over and we did it. And so in a few weeks, they'll be able to begin that. And they gifted me one of the wings. Yeah. So I thought,
But the wings have meat, flesh in them. So how can you have
yeah, there's very little at the, like,
Yeah.
so you cut it off there. So there's little to no meat in that type of bird there. The wing, no, there's cartilage, lots of cartilage. But what you do is you put them in a box of salt. So you put salt about an inch on the bottom, then you put the wing on or whatever you're doing, and then salt on top, and you leave it, for 2 to 3 weeks, check it. If you want the wings spread out, then you have to, secure it so that it doesn't shrink up. But if there's any meat on it, then you have to do borax, and then you dip it in that and wash it and so on.
so it didn't smell? It didn't smell when you finished that? Interesting.
No.
Interesting.
Now, if it's a big bird and, if it hasn't been done quickly, then yeah, you're gonna get a smell to it for sure. But
ladies, I need to go. I could go get Dave ready for his journey.
yes.
And
So send stuff to Dave. I mean, he's already.
I will say hi to him from both of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Waiting for you
Yeah.
day and night, every day. I've been sending love like every
Thanks
day.
for being here, Betty. It was good to see you. I have to be honest, I was pretty sure I was
Pardon?
going. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
pretty sure.
Yeah,
Given-
yeah, it wasn't a surprise to me too. Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad your daughter was there with you and still is. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm
Yeah.
sending my prayers and love to you and wrapping you up with a lot of love, Betty. Now, because Dave is going to Baba and he's right in his embrace, and so are you. But you'll be staying here, so I'm wrapping you with lots of love, and I will keep doing that in my morning artis.
and thanks for being here on the
Oh,
Zoom.
Oh, this was a lovely time. What an interesting time. I popped on and there's Ralph about Vikings. I thought, wow.
Yeah, I hope it was okay to pipe in and say, this is gonna have a happy ending, right?
I love that.
I like when you ask him. Yeah.
Love you, ladies. Love you, love you, love you. We'll see you soon.
You know, we're still recording. Shall we stop now?
Oh,
Probably.
oh, wow.
Oh, we got
Oh.
a gardening